Hi, this is David, Mr. DIY Solar and Tennessee Valley Solar. I'm here with my son Justin, and we are up at our cabin in Tennessee, and we're here with this heater that I covered recently. We have done a temporary installation of the heater here inside, where it is going to exhaust out this window, and I'm going to cover that now. All right, stick around, and we're going to cover using this heater here in our off-grid cabin. All right, thanks. Stick around. All right, here is the heater. I have hooked up the exhaust, and the air intake for the exhaust goes out through this window. I have put some rock wool around the exhaust pipe. It gets up to about 150 degrees, so I'm trying to make sure that we don't melt anything. And I had to use this syringe thing to draw up some diesel out of the tank and feed that down into I popped off this hose here and fed that into the fuel line because it was not filling up. It was just barely any fuel getting in there running through the fuel pump. So I have primed that some, and hopefully it fills up the rest of the way on its own as the pump runs. And so we're going to get this started and see how it goes. So I'm going to hit power on. It's running. This allows you to change the speed at which the pump pushes fuel into the system, and the slower it does that, the slower the engine will run, and it'll get less hot. So that's kind of how you control the temperature. And it's on its startup cycle now, right? And don't have any warm air coming out yet, but we're gonna let that run for a minute, and hopefully that starts warming up soon. So while it works on that, this is just sort of a temporary installation just so that we get that running and getting some heat here in the cabin. I've been running this little Mr. Heater here as well as our space heater, but I'm hoping that this guy, the fuel pump is turned on and the jet engine is firing up, and soon we're going to be able to start to see that we've got some heat coming out of there. So right now we've got 77 degree air coming out. That's pretty cool. Oh, up to 96 degrees. And the exhaust is warming up. That is pretty loud, so we're gonna exhaust. Outside. Looks like the engine itself has gotten up to about 286 degrees. So the air coming out of that is, that's actually getting warm enough to burn my hand. And the exhaust itself is pretty hot. But now I guess it's decided it is warmed up enough and it is slowed down a little bit. So I think that this is going to work out good for us. This is sort of a demonstration proof of concept for us. I sort of have it temporarily installed where we've just got this cord connected to this and then that runs over here and connects straight into the 12-volt bus bar. So we're hoping that this is going to allow us to have enough heat coming out of this that we're going to be able to turn off the Mr. Heater as well as the space heater. Once we turn off the space heater, we won't really need the generator, especially after we're done cooking or whatever. So I had to set it up on these concrete blocks because the pipes stick down pretty significantly. So putting it up on these blocks has kept the exhaust up away from the cabinet top, and it is definitely warming up in here. So I think that this is going to be a great start to our test for using this thing, and we're going to start working on getting it permanently installed probably tomorrow. So I hope this has been useful as far as a continued look at using this little heater to heat a small cabin such as this. Alright, this has been David, Mr. DIY Solar, as well as Tennessee Valley Solar. Please like and subscribe, and I will continue to post videos about this cabin as well as this heater as we continue to work on it. Thanks a lot. Bye. And through the power and the magic of the internet, here we are the next day. This heater ran all night long, and it's a real trooper. The level of the fuel has gotten pretty low, and it kept it pretty warm inside. And apparently it got down to about 25 degrees last night, and it's almost 60 degrees inside. Could have been a little bit warmer. Actually, let's see. It says right there it's 62. Over there it's 65, so actually a little bit warmer than 62. 60 degrees. But I put this vent on here and it's shooting the air straight out into the room. We have 100-degree air coming out, so it's definitely keeping it pretty warm. The fuel pump is one of the more annoying things about this. It just sort of sits there and clack, 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 clack. I had taken it loose from the back of the case to be able to get the fuel line off of it. So what I did was I stuffed a bunch of shopping bags in there to kind of muffle the sound, and that reduced the volume pretty significantly from the noise that it had been making. So that helped. So my two biggest complaints with this guy are just the clacking noise that can be heard pretty clearly throughout the cabin, and then the exhaust. The exhaust gets extremely hot, and it's wasting a good deal of heat off the exhaust. And we got the exhaust is like 190 degrees, and the air that's coming out of it starts out at about 130 degrees. So I'm going to try to figure out how to reclaim some of the heat off the exhaust. Thought about just taking a little fan and setting a little fan blowing air over the exhaust, trying to pull out some of that heat. Or I'm probably going to set this up in the little concrete block room that's beneath the cabin and just duct the air up through the floor. And I think the flow of the air that's coming out of there isn't going to be enough to get good airflow coming out of the floor, so I'm probably going to put a fan on the 3-inch duct, and I'll probably have that moving faster than the air that's coming out of this, so hopefully that'll cool down the engine a little bit more, because those are the fins that are on the engine block, and if you look at the temperature that the engine block is running at, we're at 260, 280 degrees in there. So I think what we could do to pull more of that heat off of the engine and recover more of that heat where it'll be useful here inside. So once we set this up in the room below, the pump sound won't be as annoying, and we won't have to worry about that. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get my diesel tank up here high enough where I can get some fuel in here, fill this tank back up again. We're probably going to keep this running most of the day. It's supposed to get up to 55 or 58 degrees outside, so it should be relatively warm, so we may not need to run this all day. But we'll see how it goes with getting this running. So once I set it up in the room below, I won't have to worry about spilling a little diesel, or won't need to worry about the air or the volume of the fuel pump. So I will update as we get those installations done, and I hope this has been useful. And this has been David with Mr. DIY Solar and Tennessee Valley Solar. If this has been useful, please like and subscribe, and we're going to go get this fuel tank filled up. All right, thanks. Bye.